Hello everyone, this is Syrian, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Man of War Assault Rifle in Black Ops 3. In this video I'm going to talk about damage numbers and such, but I'll also be getting a little more in depth about the usage of various attachments and the ways to get the best results out of your Man of War usage. In this video I was using a Man of War with an ELO sight, high caliber, and fast mags, and my perks were Flak Jacket, Scavenger, Fast Hands, and Tac Mask. Now, I don't want you to go away thinking that those are the only attachments and the only perks that you should use. What I really want is to encourage you to think for yourself about the benefits that your attachments and your perks give you, and which ones are the most worthwhile for the way you intend to play. So, more on that later, but first, let's jump in and have a look at some raw stats. The Man of War fires at 517 RPM and has a medium penetration value. This puts its wall banging potential on the same level as all of the SMGs barring the Vespa and all of the assault rifles except for the Shiva. Just like all the other ARs, it has a 1.1 times headshot modifier, meaning that headshots without the high caliber attachment will not change the number of bullets you require to kill. Its damage values are very easy to remember, as it does 40 damage per shot all the way out to a range of 38 meters or so, where it then drops off to 30 damage per shot. This means it's a 4-hit kill out to that range. Sorry, it is a 3-hit kill out to that range, and then it drops off to a 4-hit kill. This consistency of damage and the long range it has at its base gives it very good 3-hit kill potential, and makes it one of the more flexible assault rifles, in my opinion, when it comes to attachments. Now we can get into the attachments, and like I said before, the Man of War is somewhat more flexible with its required attachments than most other ARs. In my opinion, the only must-have attachments on the Man of War are high caliber and some sort of optical attachment. I would recommend the ELO sight because, in my opinion, it is the best for target acquisition. It's actually the best sight I've ever used in Call of Duty. Let me explain why these two are so important. First of all, high caliber. Without this attachment, the Man of War only does 1.1 times its normal damage when you land a headshot. So instead of doing 40 damage, you'll do 44. Big deal. It's not going to change your time to kill. You're still going to need 3 shots whether you land 3 headshots or no headshots. With high caliber, that multiplier goes all the way up to 1.5 times, meaning you'll do 60 damage with a headshot. Basically, this just means that landing a single headshot during a gunfight will shave a bullet off your time to kill, in this case turning a 3-hit kill into a 2-hit kill. Being able to kill one bullet sooner might not seem like a huge deal, but trust me, it is. Gunfights in Call of Duty are usually decided by very, very small margins, and in my opinion, killing it in one less bullet is more worthwhile than any of the other attachments that you can put on any of the assault rifles. Regarding the ELO sight, I really do recommend using an optical attachment of some form for the Man of War. This is just because the iron sights are a little bit obstructive, and when you combine them with the Man of War's bouncy recoil, it can really make target acquisition very difficult. An optical attachment like the ELO sight gives a much clearer view of the target and makes it so you're less likely to lose sight of your enemy as your gun bounces around all over the place. It's quite simple really, but I think it's very important to understand the reasoning behind using your attachments. You might have noticed that I haven't recommended and wasn't using either long barrel or stock on my Man of War in this video. Now, I am not saying that you shouldn't use or consider using these attachments on yours, but again, I really want to encourage you to think for yourself about how you intend to play with a certain weapon when you choose attachments and perks for it. So, my reason for not using long barrel in this video is primarily to do with the fact that I was playing on Nuketown. It's a very small map with much smaller sight lines than most of the rest of the maps in Black Ops 3. For that reason, I really didn't feel like long barrel was a necessary attachment because the weapon should retain its 3-hit kill for nearly every engagement I find myself in on Nuketown. On other maps this probably wouldn't be the case. Long barrel does add another 100% more range on the Man of War. so it would definitely help the gun retain its 3-hit kill capability over those much longer sight lines. But I do want you to consider the following. For ranges outside those 38 meters, the Man of War will be a 4-hit kill if you don't use long barrel. But I would say that if you have long barrel or not, you really would want to keep these types of engagements to an absolute minimum. Why, you ask? Because the Man of War, in spite of its impressive range and its impressive damage numbers, it really isn't well suited for long range gunfights. It just recoils too much. That's plain and simple. Trying to kill head glitches at really long range with a Man of War usually won't work out very well, long barrel or not. It's much more comfortable at medium sort of ranges, because at long range you're not going to be able to land your shots particularly well. So people with better suited long range weapons are going to outgun you regularly. Again, I'm not saying to not use long barrel. I'm just encouraging you to be aware of how you're going to use a gun and whether your attachments will actually help you in the majority of engagements that you intend to get into, because that's what really matters. As for stock, if you have the room for it, then it's helpful, but since stock was nerfed in Black Ops 3, it really isn't a must-have attachment on assault rifles anymore. While shooting with an AR, I find that stock or no stock strafing isn't very effective because your movement speed is so drastically reduced either way. I find that if I miss my first few shots with an AR, I'm usually dead, stock or no. For me, in this video, I used fast mags, and again, this is mostly to do with the fact that I was playing on Nuketown, and Nuketown being such a small, fast-paced map. I really wanted the ability to engage multiple enemies in a short space of time. Obviously, if you play on maps that aren't Nuketown, you're probably going to get a lot more time between engagements, making fast mags much less useful. The Man of War's reload time is also not so long that fast mag is really important unless you're expecting lots of engagements in close proximity. So it's really not as important as it might be on, say, something with a really long, obnoxious reload time like an LMG. Anyway, moving on to other potential attachments. Obviously, extended mags you can't really go wrong with. More bullets is nice no matter what your playstyle, but it's not something I'd say as a first pick. Quick draw, I really don't have much time for as an attachment on SMGs or assault rifles. The assault rifles in this game do aim down the sights quite quickly anyway, and I really feel like you should be trying to pre-aim all the time. But if for some reason you feel like you need it, quick draw can come in handy for those moments when you get caught on the sprint or just surprised in general. In spite of that, I really can't emphasize enough the importance of pre-aiming. And what I mean by that is if you have reason to think that someone might be around a corner, you want to round that corner with your sights already pulled up, so you're ready to engage them. That's the reason I really don't like quick draw on my guns. I don't feel like I need it, because unless a gun really has a super slow, obnoxious ADS time, like the LMGs, like the Gorgon for example, then it's not going to make a difference to me. Suppressor is a big no-no on most guns in this game, and the Man of War is no exception to that. Unless you have a desperate need for stealth, I'd really advise against it. The range drop-off for suppressors is brutal in Black Ops 3, with the exception of a select few guns. So yeah, I wouldn't. Rapid fire is okay if you have the extra space, but I find it a hard attachment to justify using. It only bumps the Man of War's fire rate up to 550 RPM, and while this isn't completely meaningless, I really don't think that it's worth the slot when there are much better things to use. I personally would use both stock and long barrel before I used rapid fire. I'm also not really a fan of laser sight, since you never want to be relying on your hip fire luck to win your gunfights. It's just not a good way to play, it's not a good habit to get into. You're much better off aiming down the sights than praying to RNGesus that your hip fire spread is good, especially with a slow firing weapon like the Man of War. Laser sight isn't going to win you too many gunfights. As for grip, it is pretty much worthless in Black Ops 3. I know a lot of people like to use it, but stats don't lie, and neither do tests with and without. I really encourage people to test it for themselves, so if you like, go into a custom game with a Man of War class with grip, and one without. Take the Man of War class without grip and fire it at a wall. Do it a bunch of times, 10 or more clips. Just empty them into the wall and don't try to control the recoil at all. Then do the exact same thing for the Man of War class that does have grip, and be honest with yourself about whether you can see any noticeable difference. For me, I have not found a single gun in Black Ops 3 that actually benefits from grip. The recoil patterns are very random and very inconsistent, and grip seems to change almost nothing about them. Finally, there's FMJ. Now, FMJ in Black Ops 3 is actually quite a solid attachment, but again, for the Man of War, I would use both stock and long barrel before I used FMJ. So, just to reiterate, must-have attachments are high caliber and some sort of optical, preferably an ELO sight. Then if you have space left over, long barrel and stock, in that order, are both helpful. Finally, we can move on to perks. Now, in this video, I was using Flak Jacket, Scavenger, Fast Hands, and Tac Mask. Now, again, I don't want you thinking that this should be your go-to perk setup. Just because it's mine doesn't mean it's what everyone should use. This perk setup is pretty Nuketown specific. I would say if you're playing objective game types like Domination, Hardpoint, Uplink, Demolition, etc., then Flak Jacket and Tac Mask are a must-have, both of them. However, if you're playing TDM or Kill Confirmed, you can probably get away without them, especially on maps bigger than Nuketown. Again, I really want to encourage you to think for yourselves. Ask yourself what a perk provides you and whether it's worth the slot over something else. On a small map like Nuketown, I find Fast Hands to be really important. I also tend to go on pretty long streaks, so Scavenger becomes a must-have perk for me. If you find you don't tend to live long enough to run out of ammo, then Scavenger isn't going to help you. Similarly, if you play on big maps and, say, run Awareness, you probably don't really need Fast Hands, because you can hear people coming and always be pre-aimed and ready for them. Regardless of the gun, perks really do vary greatly in usefulness, from game type to game type and from lobby to lobby. So for most of the guns in Black Ops 3, there won't be a go-to perk setup that applies to every lobby and every game situation. Keep that in mind when deciding what perks to run. So a final recap. The Man of War will perform quite poorly at both close and long ranges, because at close range it has a very slow fire rate and poor hip fire. At long range it bounces too much, you'll get outgunned by snipers and the more accurate assault rifles and LMGs. Thus, you really want to engage at medium ranges more often than not. It's not really a great weapon for small maps like Nuketown, nor is it a very good choice for game types like Hardpoint, where a lot of action tends to happen on small sightlines. And yes, I am very much aware of the fact that I was playing Nuketown Hardpoint in this game. Just because I was silly and used it, doesn't mean that you should too. Remember to stick to your medium ranges. You really want to avoid close range fights with SMG and shotgun users, and you definitely want to avoid the head glitch battles with snipers. That's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I've provided some insight, and I hope to see you all again soon. See you later, everyone.